Hey,
What up?
how you doing?
Chilling, man.
All right. So before Andrew joins us, by the way, I sent it to the wrong email initially, so I think he'll take a second to join. But before he does, let's do some housekeeping stuff. Number one.
Let me make sure if he texted me about if he got it. Hold on, let's see.
Sure.
I haven't heard from him, but he should have got it.
Yeah. Number one. Everyone should join Bostin Loyd's forum, and I'll tell you why. Not only to support Boston, but I got to tell you, this forum is really useful to the extent now that I've actually, all my consultations, when people ask me for how to source stuff, instead of trying, because every time I talk to somebody, I have to go through a list of so many different options and things like that. I tell them now to go to Boston's forum and just join there. It's really convenient. In fact, I talked to Boston about it, and now I'm sending everyone there. So I highly recommend you guys join it. And I'm not just saying.
And also, so people that are listening to this podcast, on the forum, I'm leaving it's going to be a sticky at the top, and it's going to say Leo and Longevity's referrals. And when they click that, they're going to get all the links to the places that you recommend that we talked about.
Exactly. I should also send you another note about that one.
Yeah, I could add any website. So if you find out about anything, I could always go back to the sticky and edit it.
So basically, Boston has all kinds of sources there. What Boston was just talking about was regarding things that involve the brain. There are some websites that have things like, the one in particular is CosmicNootropic, which Boston will add on the forum. But I wanted you guys to know, I didn't tell you last week. There's a code called Leo20 at CosmicNootropic. The reason why I didn't tell anyone is because I didn't want anyone to finish the stock of the thing I want. So Cerebrolysin is what I buy from CosmicNootropic. All my clients know about it. Is the thing I mentioned to Boston before about anxiety. I just injected 5 milliliters of Cerebrolysin this morning. I'm doing an experiment following
5 mLs?
5 milliliters, following what my client did. Wow. So Boston, I don't know if I told you what my client did, okay? So listen to this. So you know how Ibogaine stops you from getting withdrawals from heroin and stuff like that? Well, it's really confusing how Ibogaine does that. Ibogaine actually does something to the opiate receptors, but it doesn't seem to be the reason. Now, Ibogaine like agonizes and antagonizes all the receptors in the brain, so it causes neurogenesis. I thought that the reason why it was causing the long-lasting effects was neurogenesis, but I wasn't sure why does it cause people to not have withdrawals. So I had this client, a consultation client, not a coaching client, who basically he used Ibogaine, got off opiates, then slipped up, went back on opiates. So he was a bit embarrassed, so he didn't tell me about it, so he didn't do it again. He had Cerebrolysin. Without telling me, the guy injected 50 milliliters of Cerebrolysin, which is porcine, which is like pig brain growth factors. He injected 50 milliliters. I usually inject 1 milliliter 3 times a week at max.
You're saying 5 mLs. You're talking about 5 cc.
Yeah. No, 50 milliliters in his body, but it's like it's lighter. You can do it. But so he injected 50 and no withdrawals. No opiate withdrawals. He stopped. But again, he slipped up again. He went back on opiates again. And the last time he did 5 milliliters for 5 days he did 10 milliliters for 5 days in a row. And again, no withdrawals and stopped. So I wanted to do just as an experiment. So I did 5 ml this morning. I'm going to do 5 again at night.
Do you feel anything?
I do feel a little bit different, a little bit less anxious today. It does have an effect even at the higher. Now, I know this sounds a little bit ridiculous, like I'm just playing around. Guys, I'm not going into the science of all of it here just so we don't bore the audience, but there is reason to think it will have an effect. Yeah, it certainly did. Yeah, I had a little bit of an anxiolytic effect, and I'm in a good mood.
Is this the first time you've used it?
No, it's the first time I've used 5 milliliters. I never thought of doing something like that. I never thought of using such a high dose.
Is this one of the guys you're talking about? Did he go get the Ibogaine treatment from your best friend Amin?
Oh no, he almost did. Amin, he got a consultation from Amin. Oh, he has such a funny story with Amin. Amin didn't call him back. He couldn't get the consultation. It took 2 weeks or something. Got the consultation. Then Amin told him on the phone that the other sources of Ibogaine are all fake, and he's the only one who has the source. Amin told him that's the guy that Amin. So anyway, he hates it.
I talked to our buddy Scott. Scott told me that Amin wants him to go on his podcast or a podcast and say that everything he did was super legit and that he's not a scam artist and a con artist.
Bro, he's calling everyone. So he called Scott. He asked Scott to ask me. No. First of all, he asked Roger to ask me. Then he asked Roger to ask Scott to ask me. Then he went on Dave's show. Dave clipped his whole part out. So he just went on Dave's show. He wore a suit. So I know what happened. Look, I know Amin. I know Amin and Roger. Bro, I know Amin. So let me tell you what happened. So Amin calls Roger. He's like, what am I going to do? They all know about what I'm doing. And Roger's like, I know what to do. put on a suit. I'll mail you a suit. Wear the suit. We'll go on RX Muscle. You'll look good. Bring your best client. So Amin calls Dave, says, I'm going to bring Roger Stone and this client that has this cookie, whatever. I'm going to bring them on. So he comes on. He's wearing Roger's suit. You can see by the lapel. It's pointy. Yeah. It's like Roger's.
I saw the episode, dude. It was only like 12 minutes.
No, bro. Roger actually used to send Amin suits. This is a real story. Both Roger and Amin told me this. So I'm not making this up. So he's wearing Roger's suit of the thing. He spends 2 minutes talking about his eye. And then it goes on to Roger. Roger starts talking. Dave's like, nope, I'm not getting censored. Cuts it out. So the political part is cut out. And then at the end, this guy talks. I didn't think anything of it. But then people started commenting on my show saying, hey, Amin is saying you're schizophrenic. I was like, what? Do you know what schizophrenic is, Boston? That's when you hear voices or see people that are not there.
It's like a crazy person.
It's the biggest level of craziness. There's nothing more. So I was like, oh my God, why you do this? So I went to the comments. I was like, you sure you want to do
trolls? I saw you trolling them.
I trolled the hell out. I was like, every time you lie, I'm going to tell the truth because there's so much I know about that I didn't say. So Amin knows that too. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, so I told one thing, then he backed off. Then he realized because there's so many more stories about Amin.
I don't know how he's still trying to get $1,000 a month for coaching, but yeah, dude, I saw that video with Dave, and I thought it was funny that he has that eye patch on. When's the last time you heard from Scott?
A few days, like 5 days, 6 days ago.
Okay, yeah, I haven't heard from him the last couple of days. I hope he's doing okay, but yeah, I don't know if he told you, but his dogs got in a fight and he broke it up and he had to go to the hospital. He was all messed up.
I know he called me the day after that. Yeah, that's shocking. He's a nice guy, very nice guy, huh?
Yeah, we're going into, I don't know, but I told you, I already wrote him a check. We're going into business for the pre-workout. We'll launch a really good pre-workout and we're putting it on Amazon.
Bro, he's one of the most capable businessmen I've encountered.
No, he's good. He came over, man. I introduced him to Ariella. He saw my kid. He was fine. We talked for a while. He's here for a couple hours. I just haven't heard from him in a couple of days, so I hope he's doing okay.
No, he's a good guy. I'm sure he's okay. He's just probably a bit stressed about that stuff. So look, in the future, what I was thinking about the episodes, and we'll ask Andrew when he comes on a little bit about him. But in the future, what I was thinking is we should always do our episodes with Q&As because we get so many questions. Last time we answered 6 or so. I kept some more questions from last time, but we have so many this time. So let's start.
We can do it now.
Yeah, let's start answering them. So I want to find a nice one. Look, this is an interesting one. Reezy says, is there anything that makes you guys insecure? If so, what? Also, where do you see yourselves in a few years down the road?
So, yeah, I'm like a rarity. Like, I'd be honest with you. Like,
I know that's why.
There's nothing that makes me insecure. Like, I'm like really secure. Like, there's nothing. Like, people could talk shit about me. The only thing that would get me, it's not insecure, that would get me mad, is if somebody out of nowhere, instead of talking shit about me, they like go after my kid or my wife. But as far as insecurities, no. Where might I see myself in 5 years? I don't know, prepping for bodybuilding shows on dialysis.
Okay, now I know what's the second question I should ask you because there's a question related to this. But yeah, I'll answer the question also because I think he only asked both of us. He follows my channel. So, I think now there's nothing I'm insecure about because I worked through a lot of things in my life and I had a lot of experiences and stuff like that. Like right now, I'm not confident about everything. I don't think I'm the smartest person in the world, or I'm the best. I'm obviously not good looking. I'm not. I don't think great things about myself, but I'm at peace with who I am. You know what I mean? So that's an important thing. Also, like sometimes I try to talk to my clients about is like sometimes people who are trying to get something from outside their self to make themselves feel better, like money or something like that. It never works. You never get happy till from within yourself you accept yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my case,
for sure, we've all been insecure about something at some point in our life, but as far as current time, no.
Exactly. Yeah. But Boston is very unusual in this sense. Like, as you said, and I'm also a little unusual because I work through a lot of things. Most people I think are insecure about things into older age. And that's why a lot of the behavior you see with midlife crises.
I think when you're always honest and stuff, when you're honest with yourself to other people, the insecurities die down. Because like if I was lying to people here and there and I had to cover my own lies, I'd be insecure about being called out and stuff. But I always tell the truth, so there's no insecurity there. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Accepting yourself is telling the truth to yourself about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. In my case, it was a little difficult because when I was young, my father used to, instead of like calling me by my name, he would call me idiot, like all the time. He was really, in terms of the word, using.
Are you close with your dad now?
No, No, I don't speak to my father, but it was, because of that reason, I grew up with a very kind of almost like a self-hatred when I was a kid. So when I was a kid,
what's his nationality? Your dad?
He's from Dubai.
Okay, so that's where you get that part from.
Yeah, okay. My father's Arab. So I remember even when I was a child, sometimes I would do something wrong in the house or something like that. I would get so upset with myself. I would go run into the bedroom. I would punch myself in the head when I was 5 years old because I hated myself so much. So it took years and years to work through this. And I'm sure some people in the audience feel like that also. And I want you to know you can work through it also.
So I'm guessing your mom divorced him.
My mother divorced him when I was 2, but my father took me from my mother when he didn't have custody. He had 0 custody. So my mother had 100% custody. So my father technically kidnapped me from my mother and took me out of the country. So he was.
Why did he not think she was capable of raising you?
He says that, but probably it was more of, sometimes when people get divorced, there's a power game, like who can get the child. Like sometimes they're angry at each other.
Usually it's the female that does that.
Usually, yeah. So it could have been, I'll never know really what the details were, but. Yeah. But I wanted the audience to know, if you grow up like that and if you still feel like that, there are ways to work around it. You don't have to always feel like that. Now, someone else asked you a question, which I found really offensive, but it's interesting because you brought up this funny thing about what you're doing in 5 years. Oh, what'll I be doing in 5 years? Well, hopefully I'll still be talking to Boston. But the question he said this is a crazy one. So somebody said, Storm Alexander said, Storm, this is a crazy. I'm going to respond to you, Storm. Storm said, "Are you aware that you're mentally ill?" He's talking to you, clearly. Well, maybe me, actually. He could be talking to me too. He said, "Are you aware that you're mentally ill? If so, are you talking to anyone about it?" Before you answer, Boston, I just want to make clear to people. So you think that somebody is mentally ill because, for example, they have a little bit of an aversion, giving up their entire love, their entire passion, their entire lifestyle, what they've spent their whole life doing, which is bodybuilding, sports, PEDs. Is someone actually mentally ill because they have difficulty giving that up when faced with the danger of their health consequences? Is it mentally ill? I don't think it's mentally ill. In fact, I think any normal person.
More of an addiction, I'd call it.
Yeah, an addiction, or maybe it's a real difficult situation is what it is.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't categorize it as mentally ill. Mentally ill is when I don't know, it's kind of like, to me, that's like retardation kind of.
Well, mentally ill, really, technically, a mental illness is something that is pathological, meaning it harms you. So you could say that, but I mean, the way the term, really, the connotation is not that.
I guess it's how you perceive mentally ill. You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to look at the actual Google definition and see if I relate to that, being mentally ill. I mean, if I am, but I would say it's more of an addiction and a bad addiction, I would say.
Well, how about this? Let's put it this way. If you're mentally ill, then any bodybuilder competing in the Olympia is also mentally ill, because any of them could die at any moment. Okay, so that's number one. So is everybody mentally ill in the top echelon of sports, in powerlifting or strongman and bodybuilding? They could all die at any moment. And also, is the woman that is 400 pounds and eating a little bit, is she mentally ill or is she addicted to food? Addiction is a real problem that all people deal with. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to so Ali al-Muakkad, I think his name is Muakkad al-Muqtad. I don't know what his name is, but he says, he's an Arabic name. He says, do more PEDs equal more gains? At what point do high dosages become unproductive?
Dude, I just had a client today. I think I'm trying to give him his refund. I'm like, hey, I'll charge you just $75 for the plan. I want to give you your refund. He was upset. This guy's used he's older. He wants to do the Masters Nationals or Masters USAs. And he hasn't competed ever, I don't think, and he wants to win a pro card or whatever. I sent him his program last night, and he's like, dude, I just want to let you know that I'm going to use double the gear than this. And I'm like, and it wasn't a moderate cycle I gave by any chance. It was a moderate cycle. It wasn't crazy high and it wasn't crazy low. It was, I design programs based on their current physique and their goals, right? And even though his previous gear history was crazy high, I do not feel the need. If I'm going to diet you down, if you come to me and you're 25% body fat, running more gear is actually counterproductive because this stuff aromatizes. So yeah, in his case, less gear would be better. And then there's also times where more gear in certain areas, like a little bit more mass run or Tren getting ready for a show, would be better. So there's cases where less gear is better. There's cases where less growth hormone is better. There's cases where less insulin is better. It just really is dependent on the person. You know what I mean?
Also, let's say something else. Like if you're a 180-pound guy who's a natural, who's working out, you can't go on 5 grams of gear and get everything out of that. I mean, you could, but
it would just be water and
it'd
bloat.
be water, bloat. You'd be wasting it. Yeah. So I've done that before. I've actually tried that when I first started. I just went on something. I wasn't working out, and I was like, "What the hell? You don't get anything."
That's how I was, dude, and I look like a balloon.
So you have to sort of like, you build up to it. You build up to the doses. That if you are somebody that's taking 5 grams, it's because you worked up to that dose.
Dude, it all depends on your response too. Yeah.
But where at every stage, you never raise it before you get everything you can out of that dose.
If you're smart.
Yeah, ideally. But if you raise it too fast, you won't even get all the benefits.
If I could do it all over again, dude, I would have started my first cycle at 500 mg a test. Then I would have added a compound, and then I would have slowly raised it when I hit a plateau, and I would have been still doing that same process. But since I went from A to Z, I still believe you can go from A to Z and come back and still make progress with your nutrition and stuff. But the thing is if you abuse too long and you just ruin your physique with, insulin resistance, if you take too much growth hormone and stuff, you go back. So I don't know, like a guy like yesterday, like I just texted him right now. I said, dude, I want to give you a refund because he's like, I'm going to take double the gear. He's like, I'm going to lose muscle on this keto diet. And I just don't have time for that.
Yeah. That's so, Eliha Milos asked a question, which is important because your videos were taken down. So he's asking, hey, Bostin, can you talk about the 1-year transformation, the crazy transformation you did 7-8 years ago? What was your training, diet, and gear like?
Well, that video is actually still up.
Is it up?
I didn't post that. Chris Jones did.
Oh, okay, great. Well, then, guys, you should go watch that video because everyone, I think all of us have seen that video. It's a very,
it's like over 20 million views. That's what got my whole training career going for personal training. But yeah, Chris Jones posted that. Dude, I can't recall the actual gear I ran, but I remember it was the most I ever ran at that time. Like, I remember I was getting stuff in from California called Biotech, and I still, to this day, Leo, I still have that shit in my closet because it's like gold to me. It's like gold. They stopped carrying it. And I tell myself, if I do a show, I'm going to use this because it's great, dude. This stuff is fucking great. It's called Biotech. And
you've saved all the best gear and use only the crappy gear. Now you just have the best collection of gear probably in the US.
Now that I'm on TRT, I'm using quality stuff like that I know that I've had tested because now that I'm only taking a CC a week, I need to know that's real.
Yeah. For someone asked what is Boston's TRT? It's 250, right?
Okay. So no. I'm trying to actually give you an honest answer because I'm mixing Test E250 with Test Cypionate 300, and I'm just doing a half CC of each. So it's probably around 225 a week, which I always go a little bit over the CC mark because, some gets caught in the syringe.
That's true. That's very OCD of you. I relate to that.
I do like 1.1 cc's. One's 300 mgs per ml. One's 250. So yeah, so around probably about 250 to 275.
Blue Tolf asks, Bostin, where is Bignattydaddy at now? And have you kept in touch?
I have no idea what happened to that kid, man. I actually got on the phone with his parents, I think, and I told him a full PCT regimen because he wanted to come off the gear. They were like really weird. They kind of like were fine about it and shit. And then they found out how much he was taking.
But you're still, by the way, Musclehead, you still talk to, right?
All the time, every day. I mean, we text every day.
Yeah, I wanted people to know that. So I'll leave this one for a second. Actually, let's talk about this. Khalid FH says, we should talk about this because it's Amin's fault partially. So Khalid FH says, I've heard of some people on YouTube say growth hormone makes your dick grow. Care to comment? Now, wait. The thing is, Amin has a video. I saw it when I was working with him. I was like, Amin, you have to take this video down. This is not true. This is not true. So there was a video, 5-minute video on his channel. I think I made it private when I was there because I was like, this is just this is false. So he was like, like this video is like one of those with the guru glasses, and he's like, yeah, the right growth hormone will make your dick grow. Like it doesn't. So let's tell the audience the truth. Does growth hormone make your dick grow? No. Your dick may grow in your 20s a little bit more, but it's not because you're taking growth hormone.
Yeah, because mine grew a little bit, unless I measured wrong the other day. I measured like a few weeks ago, and I think I measured wrong, though. There's no way I gained like 0.7 inches. There's no way.
In length?
Yeah, I went from like 5.2 or 5.3 to 6.
By the way, you can gain 1 inch in length very easily. Like really easily.
I need to remeasure, man, because I use one of those bodybuilding.com tape measures.
Oh no, you can't use tape. You can't use tape. No, you got it. The rule is use a ruler.
Oh, really?
On the base of the bone, the pelvic bone. That's the proper measurement.
Oh, okay. Let me go.
Yeah.
I gotta go buy a ruler.
He's gonna go.
Actually, the dollar store has a ruler, so I'm gonna tell Ariella to go pick one up for me.
No, but just for the audience, I want people to know this so they don't do stupid stuff. It doesn't work. Many people have injected growth hormone into their dick. Trust me, they've injected BP 500. Wow. They've injected TB 500, BPC 157, growth hormone, and high doses pharmaceutical. It will not do anything to your dick if you're an adult. And also, the thing that will happen though is when you're on a good cycle, usually your dick will get thicker because the viscosity of the blood will be, your blood is thicker. So sometimes you'll notice your dick will be a bit thicker when you're on EQ and you're on test compared to natural.
I do think you could stretch your dick out though with jelking, because I've had a friend that had success with that, when they hang weights from their dick.
No, I've done that.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you have?
Oh yeah, I maxed it. I have a video on this. Yeah. No, I didn't have a small dick naturally, but I wanted to, I wanted to max out everything. So I've done that. Like I know the exact length. So that's why I was telling you can gain an inch, well, between 7.75 to 1.5 easily, and it can stay. But you can't gain girth permanently. That stuff is temporary. And if anyone wants to know more about that,
isn't it kind of like a muscle? Like you could probably train it to grow, right?
Not quite. It's not a muscle. So mainly it's angiogenesis, the birth of new blood vessels that makes it thicker. The way it gets longer is there's a suspensory ligament at the top of the penis at the base that basically holds your penis up. If you stretch your penis down, that ligament will get loosened. The angle at which your penis comes out will go down, but you'll get more length. That works. That definitely does work.
Yeah, because I had a friend that was obsessed with me getting his dick bigger. I think he had like a 4-inch hard on. He was like really insecure about it. And he was like hanging weights from his dick, and he said he gained an inch.
Yeah, absolutely. You can gain an inch. And then but if people want to learn more about this on my channel, there's a video about it on the sexual health playlist. It covers pretty much the details of penis enlargement stuff. So Game Pitbulls asks your stance on Pramipexole. And then Davey Boy asks, hi, Davey Boy. Nice to hear from you as always. He says, curious too, as I'm leery of Caber. I think this question is maybe a little bit more for me because by the way, in your experience, which do you prefer in terms of its effects, not health?
So this is actually a good question for you. I was always told that Pramipexole actually helps growth hormone release.
Oh, I don't know if that's true.
I heard there's studies done that show it helps with GH release, and that the Caber is more expensive, and it's less. Okay, my experience, less side effects on Caber. Pramipexole is stronger. I like to use Caber in off season. And I like to use a little bit of Pramipexole pre-contest. I have a client right now getting ready for a show. The last couple of weeks, I dry them out on a microdose of each. And when I say a microdose of each, I do 125 mcgs of Pramipexole, which is nothing. That's 0.125 milligrams. They get them from All Day Chemists, the 0.25 tabs, and they cut in half, and then you just take half of it, and then a half made Caber twice a week. That really dries them out. So Pramipexole is stronger, but more people have adverse side effects to it, like tiredness. If they take too much, they'll feel sick. Where Caber is a little bit more on the mild side.
Okay. My perspective is not from a efficiency thing. It's from a health perspective. So Cabergoline is an ergot-derived dopamine agonist. So basically what it's like is this. It's like you going on TRT. Your body has dopamine. People who don't have dopamine, they have Parkinson's. When you have Parkinson's, you don't have dopamine, so you shake, your body you're also depressed, a lot of other things. So for people with Parkinson's, they give them Cabergoline and Pramipexole and other dopamine receptor agonists. that because their body doesn't produce dopamine. So this thing goes and pretends it is dopamine and it agonizes the dopamine receptor. Now, in our case, we have dopamine. So number one, when you agonize the dopamine receptor, it downregulates. Dopamine is a neurotoxin, so it downregulates. For people like me who are really interested in the way we think, we really want to function well in the morning, we really care about our dopamine. We don't want the dopamine receptors to downregulate. We certainly don't want to replace our own dopamine and then downregulate and we don't even get the effects of the dopamine. And we don't want dopamine to be high all day. So for people like me, number one, Cabergoline is an ergot-derived dopamine receptor agonist. It's associated with extreme cases of cardiac fibrosis when taken at the high enough doses to deal with not even hyperprolactinemia, but Parkinson's disease. In hyperprolactinemia, when your prolactin is high, that dose of Cabergoline is not associated with cardiac fibrosis. But still, I don't want to risk it. So I'd rather take Pramipexole. Pramipexole is not associated with cardiac fibrosis. It is associated with other cardiac issues, reversible heart failure among people that have Parkinson's disease. So at very high doses. And that's the first thing. The second thing is this. So I have dopamine. My issue is my prolactin is high because my progesterone signaling and my estradiol signaling are high. When both of those are high, prolactin goes up. How do you lower prolactin? Agonize dopamine. But I already have dopamine. So what would I do? I would use bupropion, which is called Wellbutrin, which is an antidepressant. In the mornings, short release, 150 milligrams in the morning, 150 milligrams 3 or 4 hours later. This inhibits the reuptake of dopamine. It's like an SSRI, but for dopamine. So it makes every one of those cells feel the dopamine more. If you have a light case of high prolactin, for example, you just want to enhance your sex drive, Wellbutrin, if you do it for like a month straight, will probably do this. Another level is to use an amphetamine in the morning. Amphetamine will cause the inhibition of reuptake of dopamine, but also will cause dopamine to be transmitted. So you could do that too. And if that's not enough, then I would consider using Cabergoline, these things, because I'd rather get the benefit of having high dopamine in the morning. Why not get a little bit euphoric, or as you say, europhic?
For anabolic users, though, that are on like a lot of Decker.
Yeah. So for anabolic users where they have serious high prolactin, you're going to have to go to Pramipexole or Cabergoline. But personally, I would still start with Wellbutrin so you get those nice effects. And also, so your dopamine is not, so you want circadian dopamine. Dopamine has to be higher in the morning than at the nighttime.
But the whole Pramipexole and Cabergoline is a new drug in the bodybuilding world, like only a few years. Like the bodybuilders in the 80s and the 90s, they ran Parabolin, but they never used any of that.
Yeah, very interesting. So, that was an interesting question. Let's see what else we have.
I got a funny story about Pramipexole. When me and Ariella started dating, I wanted to impress her with sex, and I used to take a lot of Prami. Like I tapered the dose up. I remember I was getting it from a peptide company. I slowly tapered the dose up because if you go too high too quick, you get sick. So you got to slowly taper. And I was doing Cialis with the Prami, and I'm not kidding you. And this is from a guy that usually comes like insanely fast. I would come, stay hard, and I could keep going on the Prami.
All right, I have a couple of responses to that. Number one, did you know that you can come, stay hard, and continue having sex for multiple times in a row if you train yourself to? And there's a book on the subject that I sent without anything. I've done it 9 times in a row during one sex session, 2 hours and a half straight.
That's crazy, man.
Without losing your erection at all, without Prami, without any drugs. Number one, there's a way to do that. Yeah, some of my.
Are you talking about like Dick Stay Hard cream?
No drugs. It's just by training yourself mentally. You have to practice at it, and you can do it. Number two, the interesting thing is this, right? See how Prami makes you sexually driven and able to have good sex? It's the exact same way that in LA, you see all these meth addicts, not all, but a lot of the meth addicts are having crazy sex. I don't know if you ever met these people, but a lot of the gay community in LA uses meth a lot, and they have like these gay sex parties and stuff. Why? It's the same reason for Prami. Prami is a dopamine receptor agonist. Meth causes dopamine transmission and reuptake inhibition.
Yeah, I was definitely way hornier on that shit.
Yeah, so if you take Wellbutrin all year, you'll be a little bit more horny all year. And Wellbutrin doesn't cause transmission of dopamine, so it's a little bit less dangerous. But by the way, for the audience also, if you really want to do these kind of things, I have a video on how to get a rock hard erections. The best way really, if you're going to use Cialis, is split the Cialis dose between Cialis and doxazosine, which you can find from Boston's Forum's websites.
I got a pill that was that. It was that drug that
alpha receptor antagonist
mixed with Viagra was all in one.
Oh, really? Good?
Dude, it gave me the worst headache ever. I was like, holy fuck, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there are quite a few tips on that subject. Someone says, Gabber now says, what to take for sleep when on Tren. I want to ask you, Boston, how do you sleep? Yeah, I was, by the way, Boston, sorry, before I say anything else, I was on Derek's show and I said that you were on Tren for years. Derek told me you always switch compounds. I said you switch compounds, but you often stay on Tren consistently. Was I wrong?
So you were right. So for my clients, always. For
your clients is different, I know, yeah.
Clients always every 6 weeks. For myself, I've been on Tren. I think the longest I've been on Tren was probably like anywhere from 12 to 14 months.
Yeah. And do you find issues sleeping when you're on Tren?
But only high doses of Tren when I was getting ready for a show. Like it was never anything too crazy, you know, there has been some points, but so dude, this is a really good cocktail that I learned from another coach. This is an herbal cocktail, and you might like it or maybe you won't. 200 mgs of 5-HTP, 10 mgs of melatonin, 3 capsules of ZMA, and GABA, whatever the dose recommended on the bottle. Okay. Now, I know Dave told me that you said GABA doesn't work orally, but I'd have to disagree with just my personal experience on the GABA that I use. I got the tingling sensation, and it makes me very drowsy. So that's my favorite combination for sleep.
Okay, so Dave is, it's very interesting. There's a big mystery about this. Does GABA pass? It doesn't. GABA by itself doesn't pass the blood-brain barrier. But when you take it, it does help you sleep. So it's a little curious. It seems to at least relax the peripheral nervous system. But many people don't know there's this simple trick. If you combine GABA with a niacin molecule, which is a vitamin, put them together, it goes into the brain. It's called picamilin. You can find it from CosmicNootropic.com. Leo20 is the code. That will give you niacin GABA directly into your brain. That's one trick. It's a medication.
You want me to put that coupon code on the forum? Leo.
Oh yeah, I'll remind you. I'll send it to you later.
Is it which site is it?
Cosmic Nootropic.
I got that. Yep.
All right. But anyway, so that's one thing. But let's talk about supplements. So you talked about 5-HTP. That's true. For some reason, 5-HTP may be downstream due to the melatonin or whatever. It will help you sleep. The problem with 5-HTP, if you take it long term, you have high serotonin levels in your body, and that's associated with liver cancers. So we don't want to do that if you're on Tren a lot in the long term. But it will help.
I've never done it long term. I've only done it a couple days a week.
It will help. The other ones you mentioned. So what I do with melatonin personally, if you're just trying to sleep, take an instant release 10 milligram, and then between 5 to 10 milligram extended release. And then every time you wake up during the night, take another 10 milligram melatonin. Those things only last 2 hours in your body, but they scavenge free radicals. They're very good for your nervous system and for your brain. The long-acting ones don't take too many of those because they'll slow down your thyroid, which as a bodybuilder you don't want. But the short-acting should be fine. You could do that. Then you could take GABAergic related herbs, like valerian root is the strongest one. You could take ashwagandha. You could take Bacopa, monnieri. You could take L-theanine. These affect GABA. Like taking picamilin would just put GABA in your brain, or like taking a benzodiazepine, like Xanax would affect you. The problem is, and by the way, in terms of sleeping medications, the sleeping medication GABAergic drugs, they're like benzos, like Xanax, but they're very short acting. Like Ativan is one of them, ambien, these kind of things. Those things will not, in my opinion, are not very helpful for Tren, because even if they get you to sleep, you'll still have that high adrenergic system and may wake up again. I had a client that used Ambien and he fucking kept cheating on his diet. I guess it makes you really hungry. Yeah, it does. That's if people start eating at night. That's true. So you also have mirtazapine. There are a lot of drugs you can go to. Before we get to drugs, so in terms of supplements, glycine, if you take 3 grams of glycine, if you take a gram or 2 of taurine, these affect the glycine receptor in the brain, different than GABA. And you can also take cholinergic. How about GHB? I never tried it, but people say it's amazing. Yeah, that affects the GHB receptor and it'll put you to sleep also. Now we're talking about drugs. So in terms of drugs, personally, I would go away from the GABAergic drugs because there's too much risk of addiction. And whenever you take them at night, even though they will habituate you to being more low key at night and more upbeat in the day, in the long term, you'll be a little bit more upbeat in the day than you would want to be normally because you'll have less GABAergic activity in the morning. What I would do, a histamine receptor blocker like Benadryl, an NMDA receptor antagonist like memantine or huperzine A, and a low dose dopamine receptor antagonist like Seroquel, like 25 milligrams, 50 milligrams. And then also I would take, there was a final one I was going to mention, but I forgot. So basically I would block those excitatory.
Honestly, how many pills do you take a day?
Oh, and supplements? I take a lot, but I wouldn't take. I'm just saying for people on Tren, they would take.
Correct, but how about you? On
like
a daily
over 40. Over 40.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Boston is so. By the way, guys, Boston is so alarmed by my supplement interest. He thinks that it's witchcraft. He thinks none of the supplements work, and he's like, "Why are you eating so many of them?"
you have the same addiction I do with like herbal shit. So you're basically experimenting. Yours is a lot safer, obviously. But you like do herbal and medication experiments while I just do like steroid shit.
I'm exactly like you, but just trying to do it for the brain or for health now.
Yeah,
exactly like it. And that's why I relate to you so much.
Now, on a general consensus, do you like herbs better or do you like medication better?
No, that's a great question. I'm going to make a video about that later, but medications. And the reason why is because a medication is specific. It's so specific that you don't have the side effects come because it's doing one thing, but it's also doing other things. When you have an herb, you have a bunch of molecules in it. One of them may be the one you want. Maybe 2 or 3 are, but they're not all the one you want. Right? Yeah. Sometimes herbs are useful though, because it's harder to develop a dependency on them because they're different. Like kratom, for example, is harder to develop a dependency on than oxycodone because has different alkaloids in it. It changes over time. You know what I mean? Are
you going to get Dante on here? Did you contact him?
I need to ask him. Yeah, I need to. I still haven't responded to the original.
You should get him back on here for the herbal stuff.
We really should. Okay, I'm going to message him and tell him that we both want him on here for sure. So Ryan Bond asks how to deal with high iron levels. Unfortunately, so I know in Boston, maybe not this.
I'm low iron.
Yeah, you're low iron for sure.
Oh, you know what? I do want to ask you a question before you answer this about iron though. Oral iron versus injectable. I'm just doing 1 oral tablet a day because it says if you have anemia or whatever, take 1 a day, which is 65 mgs. How much better is the absorption on injectable? Because I can get the injectable dextrin or injectable iron dextrin on eBay. I just don't know how much to take.
I should look into it for you. I've never looked into iron because iron is something that unless you have too little of it, it's something I would never supplement with. For example, like all my multivitamins, I look for one without iron. But in your case, because of the kidney issues, you'll be low iron. I'll look into it for you. Just remind me on text after.
Because I like it's weird because the orals is like 65 mgs. And the injectable is different. I did hear though, you do not want to shoot the injectable intramuscular or sub-Q because it bruises, like it stains your skin. So you got to go IV.
That makes sense. Actually, I should mention something to you before we answer all this. Last time we were 2 times we've been talking about whether being on dialysis would just clear out all your steroids. Stupidly, obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. I thought it would just, mimic what your kidneys do. Vigorous Steve, who's on another podcast with me, messaged me after the last podcast telling me that I should tell you that people actually use dialysis machines to pass blood tests. So for like cheating on events. So they'll go do the dialysis to get rid of everything in the bloodstream. So he's not sure. So he says maybe
he thinks that you might not even get the steroids.
He thinks it may just totally remove it in the bloodstream. Yeah, at least for a couple of hours.
It's literally a machine that literally takes your. Well, dude, if you're doing it every night, it's literally a machine that takes your blood and filters everything out.
The question is basically what we don't know is whether you store hormones somewhere other than your bloodstream.
I don't know, dude. Like that, he might have a point with that, but I don't think it's ever been tested. No,
we're not sure. Yeah.
No pro athlete's going to be like, let me take dialysis. Dave is 100% sure that it takes nothing out.
Yeah, he's just saying to pass short-term blood tests. He's not saying that it'll be long-term. Yeah, he's not saying that. I forgot. Yeah, the question was about iron. So just for the audience to know, iron levels are associated with Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic syndrome. No, Alzheimer's disease, metabolic syndrome, and cancer. All 3 of them. So people like me who are really trying to live very healthy lives, they're trying to actually get slightly have low iron levels, lower than normal. In my case, I've been trying to pull out, and Boston, I think you know about this. I've been trying to pull out my blood and deposit it. I actually know how to do it now. I've just been a little bit lazy. So I think I'm going to start. No. I'm talking about I want to like donate blood, but the problem is, so this is basically the issue. If you really want to lower your iron levels, donating blood with the maximum amount that's allowed in the US isn't enough. So you have to actually do it yourself eventually. So I basically have a very friendly subscriber who I won't name, but he's a nurse who sent me an email with very detailed instructions on how to do it. Because before I found like the butterfly needle and I knew how to do it. But the problem is this, you need a vacuum sealed thing outside to pull the blood out.
I have one on Amazon. I know a bodybuilder that does it himself in his sink.
Yeah. No, and he sent it to me. You knew about that? You know how to get the bag?
I would never do it myself, but I know a guy personally that donates his own blood every few, because they only legally let you do it like every 8 weeks. He does that shit all the time in his fucking sink with the fucking bag.
I'm going to do it within 2 weeks.
What he does, instead of taking a bunch of it at like 8 weeks, he does little amounts every few days.
Which is also better, so that it doesn't build up and then go out. And the same is also for if you're on EQ or something like that. You have to do it more often.
Hemoglobin lower.
Yeah. So Bam Fauski says, is there such a thing as being able to come off and get back to normal even after extended use? And this is an easy question, an easy answer. Yes, because I am not on anything, and I haven't been on anything for a year and a half or so.
What are your test levels at?
I've never tested my test levels, but I've tested my sperm parameters so many times, and my sperm is perfect and I feel great.
Are you scared to test your testosterone?
No, I'm just not interested.
If you were low, would you get on TRT or no?
I mean, I assume I would predict I'd probably be 300 or 400 or something like that.
Let's say if you were 100, what would you do?
I wouldn't do anything. Nothing would change.
You wouldn't do TRT?
No. I mean, the reason why I wasn't doing TRT was because, first of all, it's because I really wanted to recover. Now that I have my wife's pregnant, I'm thinking about using HCG in the future, just to have a little bit higher test levels for a bit of energy or something, but I'm not sure. I might experiment a bit. Amino Asylum sent me some.
What do you think raises your natural testosterone levels better? Nolvadex or HCG?
HCG does, but it wouldn't. It's not just Nolvadex. So it's the fact that when estrogen goes up, you stop producing testosterone. The first thing you can do is lower estrogen, so your brain tells your balls to produce testosterone. If you don't want to,
that's why Remedex raises like natural free test.
Yeah, if obese guys, before they put them on HCG for fertility, they give them an AI. The first thing they do is give them an AI and see if that works.
Well, see, I was told that they have a low amount of AI, which is in my fertility protocol, because high doses, at least for fertility, high doses of HCG are supposed to raise your estrogen super high.
Yeah, it can. It will, certainly. Yeah. And even with the HCG, it's still best to add an AI, even though you're not relying on your brain. It shows that in studies. Yeah, your protocol is excellent. Yeah, the only difference between what I used and your protocol is instead of Clomid, I use N-clomiphene citrate. And instead of HMG, I use recombinant FSH. Well, first I use HMG.
That was expensive, right?
Yeah, it's very expensive. But first I used HMG, but I ordered from Turkey the recombinant FSH. And I think that's the only difference. And then just staying on it longer.
You didn't even need that to knock your wife up, did you?
No. Later, that was when I was recovering from AES years ago. Now this time I didn't do anything. It was first try, nothing.
You have good natural testosterone levels then.
Yeah, it's recovered completely. So some people can do that. You just have to do a long recovery. It's not
like my doctor said though. My doctor said 3 months you'll be fully recovered.
Your doctor is a legend. This guy, huh? This pressure.
I showed you. I showed Bo. I showed Bo a picture of my doctor. He was laughing. Dude, I gotta send you this picture of my doctor. He looks like a fucking idiot.
I love Bo, by the way. Listen, we got to get. So I was thinking next week either Big Lenny or Bo. We should get Bo as a regular.
Bo will do it again. I know he will, but I think we have to give him some time. He liked it. He was glad and I got a good feedback. But I know he's a lot more reserved and he said it. He said the only reason he did it was because I asked him. He said if anyone else asked him, he probably would say no. But
yeah, he's a good guy.
He's very reserved. But yeah, I like him a lot. We talk, we text. But hopefully Andrew will join us. Let me check my text. I know,
huh? So
we'll get him on a later show.
Good question. Lee Fraser asks, what is the most a client has gained on their arms by following your synthol protocol?
2.5 inches.
Wow, so I could have had 20-inch arms.
2.5 inches in 24 weeks.
In how many?
24 weeks.
Wow.
But that was, hold on, I want to say something though. That was from a depleted contest bodybuilder converted into a rebound. You see what I'm saying? So it's a guy that was super lean, dieted down, shredded. And then right after the show, we started a CEO protocol.
Can I ask you something? Number one, when someone poses, say like they're flexing.
Oh, by the way, people are going to give me a bunch of shit about that. I just said CEO protocol. I call Synthol CEO. It's SEO.
People love your words. Eurofic. I'm telling you, we need to make a t-shirt company with Eurofic. And you had that other one last time. It was so good. Anyway,
the camel straw.
Yeah. That was good. I texted Boston after that episode saying we should make t-shirts or hats or something. But anyway, so what I want to ask you, Boston, when you see a bodybuilder posing on stage and under his bicep, he's very lean, but you don't see a line here. Does that mean that he's injected his bicep or his tricep?
It can mean two things. Genetically, it could mean he lacks separation just genetically, or two, he's misusing Synthol. I mean, dude, like I'm pretty not delusional. Like my arms, they have separation. Like they have right now, like I haven't used it in a while, but like, dude, I got like little striations in here. Like it doesn't.
So there are people who just the line
they don't go deep enough. I go an inch and a half deep, 3 cc's in each, and then 3 cc's. I haven't done Synthol since 2016 consistently, but you got to go deep. That's the problem. When it starts to look stupid, it's because people are using insulin syringes, they're using 1 cc needles, and it's like just sitting at the top layer.
Do you think okay, first of all, how big could your arms have gotten without Synthol? What do you think your max would have been?
I don't know, because I changed my training and I did the Synthol at the same time because Dave Plumbo is the one that got me to do Synthol, by the way. But
Dave used it. Dave relied on it for his arms.
Yeah, but he's the one that started me on the painless pumps in 2012. My arms are genetically my weakest body part. Both my parents were great bodybuilders, and both their weakest body parts were their arms.
Fascinating.
My arms never grew, and they had terrible shape until I started using Synthol. So I don't know. Maybe without Synthol, they would have eventually grown, because I got older. But I mean, my arms were my biggest part of my body. Kind of made up my other body parts look kind of lopsided because that they grew at such a fast rate. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you ended up having huge arms.
Yeah,
which looked pretty good actually. Your arms looked pretty good, except for the infection when you got the infection.
Oh yeah, that was an infection though. That was I blew out my ulnar nerve.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I got a lat infection and a glute infection, but when my arm blew up, that's because I ruptured my ulnar nerve and my arm swole up and it pulled from the skin.
And you got a tattoo, although you never wanted to get tattoos.
Yeah, that's the only tattoo I have is to cover that.
Well, I remember watching that video years ago. He's like, I got a tattoo. I hate tattoos, but I had to get one.
And then I also, Leo, I was shooting fake gear, like 12 cc's in each delt, dude. A fake ass gear, and I got these lumps that turn into. So I paid $500 to get those removed, so I have scars from those. The doctor literally pulled out this gunk. It looked like ear cartilage, and he put it in these bottles. I wish I still have it. He put them in preservatives. Dude, they pulled out so much junk out of my shoulder. And no, that's the first tattoo I got was this really gay tribal one. and then I got the fucking scars, so then I got the Team 3cc one.
But they pulled out scar tissue, and it was like ear cartilage, huh?
It looked like ear cartilage, yeah.
You know what's really weird? You know how those MMA fighters have like bone in their ear? So 6 months or 8 months ago or something like that, my dog, who was younger at the time, jumped and like hit me on my ear with his mouth, and my ear hit my glasses here, and I don't know how. It hurt a ton. It was really painful. Then like a few days go by, and I start to notice my ear is a bit harder, and now there's a piece of bone in there, which is shocking. Just like an MMA fighter, I have a tiny piece of bone in my ear. It's really confusing. Wow. I stunned you, huh?
Yeah, because I'm trying to think, because MMA fighters, they get it from constant contact and blood.
Just one hit and the bone, which makes me think I'm calcifying very quickly. I don't know. It made me very suspicious for sure. This is a good question.
Andrew got the email?
I mean, let me just confirm for sure, but I'm pretty sure he did. Did he send you a text?
No.
Oh, no. You know what? I received another address not found for the address you sent me.
Wow, really? I'll just tell him.
Yeah, tell him the address is not found. I used the address you sent me. Anyway, it's cool. Yeah. But text him. But there's
tried to get you on the podcast. We're still on here now, but I guess I sent him the email, and when we sent it, it said address not found. So we'll probably have to just get you on another podcast. Maybe we could schedule you for 2 weeks or something. Let me know. There we go.
Yeah, cool. Rick Heisenberg asked this a couple of times, and I forgot to ask you, so I'm sorry. He says, "Hi, Leo. Could you please ask Bostin about his opinion on his former disciple, Max Madsen? Do you know this guy? Max Madsen. He says he is basically the German Boston in terms of honesty regarding steroids. He is the co-host of the biggest and best German bodybuilding podcast. Not that that means a lot, lol. A potential collab would be a dream. And a lot, I don't know if it's him, but I think a few times people have asked about him.
Yeah, he's hired me a few times, but he actually I don't speak German, so I don't know. I mean, he's German, but I had some people tell me that he did a video, and yeah, he has like a big following in Germany, right? And he did a video saying that I advised 13 grams of gear on him. Dude, like, I have never, like, he obviously either is making stuff up for views or he can't count. Because no, I'm serious, dude. He's actually said that I put him on like 13 grams of steroids.
That's enough.
Like, I have never, ever recommended that much gear to anyone. I'm like, what the fuck does he like? And I haven't heard this from his mouth, but people have emailed me saying, dude, do you know your client Max is saying that you put him on 13 grams of gear for a national show? He ended up winning his juniors. He looked great for like 20 years older. He was 19 or something at the time. But dude, putting a 19-year-old on 13 grams of gear, he just can't count.
Michael Sobel says, through all the stressful situations you've been through, Bostin, what do you think about on a daily basis to stay out of the mental gutter?
For mental gutter from what, though?
I think he was talking about the stressful situation of the health thing. How do you keep yourself uplifted? But the thing is, people don't really understand. You're actually in a Bostin, although he has like minor anxiety, Boston's actually like in a very good mood all the time.
I get the minor anxiety because of the drugs, though. But now that in my kidneys, but I never had anxiety before. Yeah, dude, I'm pretty I'm pretty laid back, man. I don't know. I don't even get like that.
Yeah, for me,
I don't even raise my voice, man. Like when Ariella, like we rarely ever fight, but when she tries to pick a fight with me, I just laugh and walk away, you know?
Actually, someone asked something, Davey Boy asked, he said, if it were Ariella with your health issues, would you ask her to stop using steroids? Kind of a dick question, but I'm curious.
Well, it's hard for me to say because I don't think I would be on with a girl that took harsh steroids. You know, it's different for a guy that takes steroids and it's different for a girl that takes steroids. But I think the approach that I'm taking now that I'm done at TRT, like, first of all, if a girl took a bunch of steroids, I wouldn't be attracted to them. They would be fucking like manly. So that's a hard question to ask. But let's say steroids didn't make a chick masculine and I just knew it was destructing her health. Yeah, I'd be upset about it for sure.
Is Ariella is when you and Ariella deal with the health stuff, does she pressure you or does she follow your lead, or how do you guys make decisions? How do you guys
give me an example?
Like, for example, right now, like I've been telling you, you need to get to a different doctor, for example. When you went to that doctor and he did that pressure point blockage stuff and you went back home and told Ariella, this guy's, he's an idiot. Did she tell you like, I got to find another doctor?
Yeah, she knows I hate doctors regardless. You know what I mean? So she's like, I don't know, man. She's like really cool. Like if I had like a pushy girlfriend, I'm like weird, man. Like that's one thing. Like I'm calm and stuff. But like, if somebody tries to tell me what to do, dude, I would not be in the relationship. Like she knows not to go there.
Did she get pushy when she was pregnant, by the way? Because my wife is slightly different now. I don't know what she's gone.
She gets pushy that she wants to get pregnant.
Oh yeah, that's true as well. All right, we'll go through a couple more before we stop. Okay, so Sonny Smith asks, he said, hope the kidneys are repairing themselves. Do you think metformin is beneficial for bodybuilders? Very mixed opinions on this. Thanks, Leo. So
yeah, let's hear your.
I think it's.
I want to hear your stance on this because I really like metformin and Dave thinks it's the devil.
You like it for what?
Okay, so I like the sustained release version.
For what?
For lowering blood sugar in mild cases.
Yeah, it's certainly that works. Yeah.
And also, I think when you're taking exogenous growth hormone, I don't think it's going to affect your IGF negatively. I know some of the biggest guys that do 4 days insulin, 3 days metformin. And what I'm saying is, if you're not on growth hormone, forget about it. Metformin, you don't need it. But if you're on growth hormone and you're dieting for a show and your blood sugars are running high, I think it's really good.
So I think if your blood sugars are high and you're using growth hormone and you're trying to, I don't know about dieting for sure. I don't know much about that. But if you're trying to just deal with the blood sugars and you're already taking growth hormone and all that, I would use insulin to measure.
100%. I agree. I'm talking about pre-contest.
Yeah, that may be different. I don't know much about that. Also, just like you said, I agree with you totally. If you take metformin and you're taking steroids and you're taking growth hormone, it's not going to kill your IGF-1. It doesn't matter. Metformin is not that powerful, but it will still affect your glucose disposal. So you're totally right. I think I agree with you. It will not harm your gains probably, and it will probably improve a little bit of your glucose disposal. Totally true. But in terms of using it, this is what I thought he meant. In terms of using it to lose weight, that is not the case. So studies on people with metformin for a year straight show an average weight loss of 1 kg. There for some reason is this rumor that metformin causes extreme weight loss. And it's even thought that 1 kg is mainly due to nausea that comes in the first couple of months from the metformin. So metformin shouldn't cause you to lose a lot of fat. Like, for example, we have another question.
Yeah, but was that studied on girls that take growth hormone or anabolics, or just normal people?
No, that's just on normal people, but normal people should lose more body fat with just adding metformin in than people.
I'll tell you what though, I have like 3 older clients, like females, and I know metformin is really healthy, has some good health benefits.
Yeah.
So I have clients that will hit a plateau, like chicks. They won't lose fat, their weight will just plateau. And just adding, I don't like the fast release metformin because it fucks your GI up. I like the sustained.
No, you need sustained release, yeah.
And you take it, you start off at a very low dose with your last meal of the day on the full stomach. Just adding a little bit of metformin for these females really helps drop the weight, man. I've seen it happen time and time again with my female clients.
It could be that nausea though, that short term, but I don't know. So the studies show I take metformin 2 grams every day, and I've been doing it for 3 years and a half, 4 years. Huh?
Sustained release?
For years.
How much carbs are you eating a day?
I don't eat very many carbohydrates. I take it for the health benefits. Which
but you had to taper up.
Yeah, that's what I loved about what you just said, which is you have to taper up with metformin. Otherwise, you'll get all the GI issues. So you start at 250 before bed, and you only raise it when you have no GI issues. When you have no symptoms, then you raise it.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
But for that, it's useful. Actually, somebody else asked, Jimbo and Slice McNeil, nice name, has asked, have you ever used DNP and metformin together? What other combination stacks well with either DNP or metformin in a weight loss phase? Thanks.
I love DNP with metformin because DNP raises my blood sugars and most of my clients' blood sugars by about 15 to 20 points.
I never measured mine. Interesting.
Yeah, and it usually brings them up from like 85 to 105 to 110.
Wow.
And I 100% like using metformin. It brings them back down to where they need to be.
No way. This is really informative. I never knew that. I mean, obviously, it probably makes sense that it raised blood sugar, but I never thought about that.
Or they could use Lantus insulin, but I prefer on DNP that they use the.
Yeah, it would be way better to use metformin than Lantus because Lantus will affect your fat loss.
It inhibits fat loss. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Insulin directly inhibits fat loss, so you don't want that at all. Good point. Hey, there's a question. Look, I'm no expert on kidneys, but I just want to answer this really quickly. There's a guy called Brenton Vance. He said he got blood work done. His creatinine is 1.1, but his BUN is 23. And he wanted to know why his BUN is so high and the creatinine is low comparatively. I just wanted to briefly mention that
there's a for those numbers.
Happily.
On of 22, dude, that's good.
No, but what he's thinking is that the so there's something called the BUN to creatinine ratio. When it's over 20, it tends to indicate either you had major trauma or you're dehydrated or you have something in your body that's causing bleeding, like internal bleeding, or your heart is not pumping enough blood to get to your kidneys. Usually but you're not at that level for the guy there. He's 23. He's not beyond. It's about like if you're 30. If your BUN was 30, then you'd be looking at this, I just wanted to mention that to that guy. Oh, breast stress.
I just had a friend send me his blood work. His creatinine was at 0.9.
Nice.
And his fucking GRF was 105. How the fuck do you get a GRF that high?
His age.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, age. It's just based on age and
Well, I
creatinine.
thought, according to my doctor, that's the percent of your kidneys. So how could your kidneys be functioning at 105%?
So it's not. It's so the glomerular filtration rate is how much fluid passes through your kidney during a period of time. There is no glomerular filtration because we can't test it. So we test something called the estimation. You either use creatinine as a marker, see how much creatinine went through the kidney during that time, or cystatin C, how much cystatin C went through the kidney at that time. But then everyone's kidney gets worse as they age, which is one of the big things we've been talking about. So because of that, they adjust the score for how old you are. So if the guy you're talking about is very young and he has a higher,
He's 30.
Oh, he's 30. That's what I don't know. Maybe we have to look at the formula exactly, but basically it's based on age and the creatinine level. You know, that's how they try to. Yeah. So Brester asked, "What is your favorite pharmaceutical GH brand?"
Farm grade.
Yeah.
Sizin.
For size also, right?
No, just Sizin in general.
No, I mean, what I mean to say is that Sizin builds up fluid a lot though, right? No, it doesn't that much. Not like Serostim.
Dude, like I'm a cheap bastard, man. The most pharmaceutical grade I'll run is like 2 to 3 IUs max because I'm cheap as fuck. But Sizin I'm on it now. I do 2 IUs of Sizin in the morning, and then I do 2 IUs of generic at night. Something about the Sizin, it makes my skin glow.
No, you're right. Sorry, I totally forgot the names of them. Sizin does do that. Serostim holds too much water.
Serostim is terrible. Fuck that.
I love Norditropin.
Those are good. The 45 IU pens.
Yeah, I love Norditropin. Norditropin is my favorite. But you know what, like Sizin, GH15. What?
They're highly faked, those Norditropins.
Yeah, no, but I had some real ones. But you know who like Sizin is GH15.
Really?
Yeah, I was wondering if he was selling them at some point. He was so excited. Okay, the last 2 questions, or the last question. I'll ask you one more question. We'll end it early since Andrew didn't come on.
Yeah.
The last one is important, so you have to pay attention. Grape Gorilla asks you, how did it feel to lose to Cornelius, Boston?
That's a good one, dude. That's a good one. They're trying to start shit on that one. You know the whole beef with me and Cornelius?
No, I've had him on the podcast. He mentioned it. I don't know what it was.
All right, dude. This is a fucking good one. All right. I saw that question, by the way. Okay. Dude, this is actually good. So, because I never really talked about too much. So when we were posing, I was like, there's no way this guy's beating me, right? There's no fucking way in the overall. Like, there's no fucking way. So then the impossible happened, and they said whatever. They were like, in the winner, the overall is Cornelius Parkin. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? I got robbed, dude. and then that fucker put his hand out to shake mine or something, or maybe I put my hand out to shake his or something like that. And I shook his hand. I was a good sport about it. And then after he said something like, yeah, I made him. Yeah. He's like, I beat him on stage and I made him shake my hand or something. He's talking about me. Then I went off and I started calling him like a troll. And I said he was put together like a fucking meat grinder. I even made a video on my YouTube, which got like 100,000 views. But then obviously they pulled it down. And I was trolling him saying I got robbed and shit. And dude, I'm not kidding you. Like, I like Cornelius now. Like, we're cool and stuff. And like, I approached him at the show 2 years later. Like, we talked and stuff. We still talk. But I mean, there's nobody that's gonna tell you that knows bodybuilding. I mean, I had fucking judges that he should have won that show. There's nobody that'll tell you that. But the thing is his coach and him, they owned a gym in that area, in that South Carolina area, and they knew the promoter. Dude, they gave him straight ones.
He's still upset about it. You're still upset.
Have you seen the pictures?
No, I have no idea what happened. I'm gonna go look after, actually.
Yes, no, I'm not upset about it. It's just funny, but it was actually like, I don't think I lost. Like maybe you could say I'm in denial, but like I still am like I won that show.
I can't imagine Cornelius saying that. He's so polite. My impression of.
And then I went off. I was like, he looks like he got torn out. I was like, even my fucking calves were better than his. Or yeah, dude, he weighed like 195 pounds, and I weighed in at 238.
Oh wow, really?
Oh, and
I gotta see these pictures.
Oh no, Leo, you'll be like, what the fuck happened? I'm gonna send you some. I'm gonna text them to you. You're gonna be like, what the fuck happened?
I'm gonna call this episode the Cornelius versus Boston episode. We should bring Cornelius on sometime.
Dude, I think he knows. I think he knows that I got robbed. I think he knows.
All right, brother. Well, we'll talk next week.